we're increasing the salary threshold significantly, and we're doing exactly as we said we were doing it. We're just doing it in 2 stages. The levels of migration are far too high, and they've got to come down. Just that will reduce the amount of migration by 300,000, more than anyone's ever done before. And if we can get that done, then I'm confident people will stop coming, and we'll be able to ease the pressure on communities everywhere. Well, compared to the predictions at the beginning of the year, the economy has done better, and we've actually grown faster than our European neighbours like Germany, for example. But of course we want to see more growth, and that's why in the autumn statement a few weeks ago, the Chancellor cut taxes for businesses that are investing to help drive our future growth, and the independent experts have said that that will do exactly that. But also, because we've done a good job halving inflation, we're able to now cut taxes for families, and that tax cut is significant. It's a cut in the rate of national insurance from 12% to 10%, and it's kicking in just a couple of weeks in January, and that will help put more money in the pockets of families up and down the country.
Transport. Millions of rail passengers will face a price hike of almost 5% next year. After the year of disruption people have suffered, could you have done more to protect the cost of rail travel?
Well, the government has stepped in to cap the increase in rail fares at much less than they went up last year, and we've been able to do that because of our general management of the economy, which has meant that we've halved inflation this year. And the increase that we're seeing now, I think, strikes the right balance between raising the money that the railway ultimately needs to run, particularly in a post-COVID environment, but also minimising the burden on hard-working rail passengers. And at longer term, the best thing we can do is reform outdated working practices on the railroads so we can make them more financially sustainable, and we're committed to doing that too.
Okay, so that's the national question, so I'll ask you some regional for now, if that's okay. You're here today giving out mince pies, Christmas greetings to emergency healthcare staff, but at the same time, you're also refusing to negotiate with junior doctors who've been on the longest strike in NHS history. Do you think they'd prefer a pay rise over these sorts of Christmas greetings?
Well, junior doctors are getting a pay rise. In fact, they're getting the largest pay rise out of anybody in the public sector. The government accepted in full the recommendations of the independent pay review bodies, and we've now actually reached agreement with everyone else in the NHS: nurses, ambulance workers, consultant doctors, specialty doctors. In fact, the only workforce that is refusing to settle are the junior doctors, which is really disappointing, particularly at this time of year when everyone relies so heavily on the NHS. And we've been consistently constructive and open to talks. I would urge junior doctors to re-engage in those talks and call off strike action. And I think everyone can see that the government has acted constructively here, because we've managed to reach agreement, as I said, with every other workforce in the NHS, including all the other doctors' unions too.
It's still very far apart though.
As I said, the junior doctors were already getting the biggest pay rise out of anyone in the public sector, almost 10%. And then on top of that, the government had made a generous offer in line with what we had said to consultants and specialty doctors. But the junior doctors have not accepted that, and they're on strike. That's very disappointing at this time of year. As I said, the offer is there. The offer is there to keep talking, and I would urge them to do that, particularly when the pay rise that they've now got is bigger than anyone else's, and every other part of the NHS has found an agreement and is working really hard to deliver the care that everyone desperately needs at this time of the year.
Okay, a question about visas. So what do you say to those on the right of your party who believe that, regarding the salary threshold lowering, you're backtracking on efforts to curb record net migration?
The levels of migration are far too high, and they've got to come down, and that's why a little while ago we announced measures to do exactly that, measures that will reduce the amount of migration by 300,000, more than anyone's ever done before. And the biggest of those measures are kicking in again in just a few weeks in the new year, so they'll start to make a difference quickly. And regarding the salary for families, I think the principle here is absolutely right, that if people are bringing dependents into this country as part of their family, they must be able to support them. That's why we have a salary threshold for that. Now, we're increasing the salary threshold significantly, and we're doing exactly as we said we were doing it. We're just doing it in 2 stages. So we'll go up in a few months' time, and then it will go up again the full amount in early 2025. So it's exactly what we said we're doing. We're just phasing it over the next year or so.
In March, you said that you were showing strong leadership by announcing military bases, including Catterick Garrison, which is in your own constituency, would be used to house migrants. Today, it's been reported that you've U-turned on that decision. What makes your constituency different to anyone else's?
No, that's not right. So the MOD and the Home Office have been conducting site inspections of various alternatives. They've concluded that Catterick isn't right for a large asylum site, but the intention is to use it to house refugees from Afghanistan, where we obviously have commitments after our withdrawal from there a couple of years ago. But more generally, taking a step back, stopping the boats is a massive priority of mine. It's something I said I wanted to do because that's ultimately the best way to relieve pressure on hotels and other areas in local communities. I'm pleased at the progress we've made. The numbers this year are down by a third. It's just worth repeating that. The numbers this year are down by a third. That's never happened before, but that's because of the action we've taken. But I'm determined to finish the job, and that means getting the Rwanda scheme up and running, which is why I'm going to make sure we get that through Parliament and get flights off to Rwanda.
You say that Catterick is unsuitable for a large site. People a few miles away from here in Scampton say that's exactly the same for people in Scampton. There shouldn't be a large base there. Why can't you U-turn on that decision as well?
Well, this is subject obviously to an ongoing legal proceedings. There's limit to what I can say, but what I can say is these assessments are done independently and objectively, and also they're done in a way which will minimise the impact on the local community. But I absolutely get this is frustrating, of course I do, and that's why we've got to stop the people coming here in the first place. That's the only long-term way to solve this problem. That's why, as I said, I'm pleased that we've made progress this year. Numbers down by a third, small boat arrivals down by a third for the first ever time because of all the work we're doing, returning 20,000 people back to their own countries this year. But we've got to finish the job, and that means getting the Rwanda scheme up and running. That's why I'm determined to get that legislation through Parliament, get flights off, and when we do that, there'll be a clear deterrent. And if you come here illegally, you won't be able to stay, and you'll be returned either to your own country or Rwanda. And once we do that, people will stop coming, and we'll be able to relieve the pressure on local communities across the country, not just here.
So it's not just one rule for your constituency and another for people living here?
No, as I said, in Catterick, the intention is to house refugees from Afghanistan as part of our resettlement programs that we put in place following our withdrawal from Afghanistan. But across the country, local communities are seeing that their hotels are being used to house asylum seekers. We've made good progress. We've closed the first 50, or on track to close the first 50 of those already. But fundamentally, if we want to ease the pressure on local communities, we've got to stop people coming here in the first place. That's why we've got the numbers down by a third this year. I'm determined to finish the job. That means getting the Rwanda scheme up and running, seeing the legislation through Parliament, getting flights off, so it's crystal clear to everyone. If you come here illegally, you won't be able to stay, you will be removed. And if we can get that done, then I'm confident people will stop coming and we'll be able to ease the pressure on communities everywhere.
Our video ends here. If you found this update useful, then please comment below and share your opinion with us in the comment below. Thanks for watching today's update.